open session. Is there a motion on the floor?
Yeah, based on the recommendation of the executive committee, I would recommend to the full board in the form of a motion that we extend the contract of the executive director as is.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Next item is the report of the Finance Committee and Chief Finance Officer, Clark Phillip. Thank you, Rick.
The Finance Committee met earlier this afternoon and we reviewed a packet of documents, which I believe you have a copy. The first document we reviewed was the comparative balance sheet, noting that the cash had decreased since the beginning of the year about $13.7 million. Also noting that in the fund balance, the total fund balance had $82 million. When you subtract out the non-spendable items of $5.9 million and the restricted amounts of $59 million, that leaves us with an unrestricted fund balance of about $17 million at the end of April. The next statement is the cash flow statement, document number 2, which shows some of the reasons why the cash has decreased. The accounts receivable has gone up $6 million is one of the main items. We've also paid down accounts payable of $5.5 million. The reason the accounts receivable has gone up over $6 million is that the state owes us about $7.6 million for items which we think will be cleared up before the end of the year. Moving on to the next document, which is the current ratio and the defensive interval. The current ratio went up. It's a little over 2.5 today to 2.6, and the defensive interval is at about, which is the amount of days of cash based on the daily spending of both service and administrative cash. We have about 30 days in cash. We also noted that we do that on the basis of spendable cash, and we compare ourselves against the other LNE MCOs. We really only have about 20 days in cash. Alliance has, compared to Alliance, has about 17 days in cash, and Cardinal has about 25 days in cash. Moving on to the income statement, we note that we're losing money in the Medicaid line of business because of inadequate rates, which were implemented July the 1st of last year. We also see that we are showing a favorable income on the non-Medicaid business, although we expect that favorable number to decrease over the remaining 2 months. Last year, from April to June of 2018, the revenue went up $15 million, but the expenditures went up 20 because a lot of providers start catching up on their billings in the last couple of months of the year. So while these results are pretty good, we've only lost $2 million on an operational basis, and when you add in the Medicaid risk reserve, we actually have a surplus of $3 million. We expect those numbers to deteriorate over the last 2 months of the year, but we'll still be budgeted. Looking at the next document, which is medical loss ratio. The medical loss ratio has decreased and stabilized from the spike we had at the beginning of the year, but it's still higher than last year, and that's because of once again, the inadequate rates, which the state implemented beginning July of 2018. Looking at the next document in your packet is the Medicaid service budget variance report. You can see that on the Medicaid side, we're very close to budget, and we're only about a dime difference, and unfortunately it's favorable. There are some differences on a line item by line item basis, but overall we're very, very close to budget. We also have budget revision number 7, which the Finance Committee approved. It's some changes in the allocation that the state has sent to us, decreasing a net decrease in our administrative revenue and also our administrative expenses. We would also ask the committee to approve budget revision 6, which was approved by the Finance Committee at the last meeting, but since there was no board meeting, the board didn't have a chance to approve approve Budget Revision 6.
So the first item we need to do is approval of the financial reports.
Yes, that's correct.
Is there a motion to approve the financial reports as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, George. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next thing we need is approval of the fiscal year 2018-2019 budget revisions 6 and 7. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's approved. All right, you want to say a few words about the budget?
Of course. So, we've already talked a lot about the uncertainty surrounding the development of the budget. The fact that the rates are only good through October. There's going to be this potential movement of members from our plan to the standard plans beginning in November. So there are also elements in the new contract which we hadn't even seen the new contract yet, which will impose additional administrative requirements on us. We originally, in this original budget, we only anticipated about $600,000 of non-recurring single stream cuts. As we've just discussed, that number has come in at $9 million, so that's an $8.4 million difference. So that is not included in this budget. This budget was what was presented a month ago. We just found out about these cuts yesterday. So the $5.5 million budget that was presented last month will need to appropriate $5.5 million of fund balance because we'll lose $5.5 million on the initial budget. That's what we're asking you to approve. I'm happy to discuss the implications of some of these other issues that are affecting the budget, such as the single stream cut. If you take the $5.5 million loss that we will incur as presented initially, you add the $8.4 million additional in single stream cuts, that pushes the loss to $13.9 million out of a unrestricted fund balance of about $17 million. So, that's the potential impact of this.
Okay, are there questions or comments?
Okay, so for tonight's vote, we would be voting on the budget as presented in May
That's correct.
without any discussion of divider cuts. That would come at a later date?
You have to revise it.
At the budget revision will contain the additional single stream cuts, potential provider cuts, and the potential budgeting of the return of the Medicaid surplus.
So that would be a revision we'd be looking at in August.
That'll be the first revision of the budget. Yes. Along with anything else we find out between now and then.
Yeah, I guess and again, in August, it depends when we get a budget. We're just stacking up for you all the things that we understand at this time, but just as Clark stated, you're voting on the budget that we presented a month ago. It's just that over time, all of these other things are clicking along that may or may not end up in a final state budget and therefore affect our budget.
And we may or may not know about rates beyond October 31 by the time we get to the August budget.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve the budget as presented? Is there a second? Okay, have a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to have to run, but before I go, I want to thank, it's been a pleasure to serve on this board with Mr. Holland and what he brings to the table and the work that he's provided to this board. So, but I want to go back to Macon County. You probably don't know where that is.
I've heard it's in the west.
It is. It's over there.
I've been there.
Have you?
Yeah, he come.
Okay.
He ain't anybody back, but he did.
I don't want to go back.
But thank y'all for all you do, but I'm gonna have to run.
Thank you. All right, Jack, you want to give us the regulatory compliance and quality committee report?
The RCQC committee met earlier this afternoon. I'm going to start on the coattails of finance with a mention of super measures. You all remember that we've been talking about super measures being a goal that we have to work on, and it's coming. But July 1st is when the rubber hits the road. And in your packet was this chart, and it had these little red boxes at the bottom. And the red boxes mean that as of July 1st, we did not meet those super measure criteria, and it's going to cost us money. Well, as of today, we learned that only one of these boxes is going to cost us money, and that's the one about SUD having a follow-up in 7 days. We missed that mark, and so that's going to cost us $50,000. But we did hit the mark on the TCLI housing. At least today, there are 3 more days before the 1st of July, and it's possible that 3 people or 10 people will leave or whatever before those 3 days. But as it looks now, we only failed on one of the super measures. And I think that's pretty good. The quality committee has been working on getting ready for NCQA certification, in addition to EQR and what was the other 3 letters that we have been using for criteria previously. And they are on schedule for the timeline to have this done in 2020. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of, there's a thick booklet of what NCQA wants Vaya to do. So good news, we're on track. We did have a plan of correction from EQR, and that plan of correction was accepted, so going forward on that review is good. In addition to super measures, we have what are known as watch measures. Those are measures that we think are going to be critical to the state in the future, and we are doing good on our watch measures. I wish that you all could have been here for the presentation of the quality improvement activities that Steve Kozicki gave to our committee. It's in your packet, and it looks like this. It starts with this green chart. There are 9 activities recorded in these pages that describe a process, describe processes for actions that are taken to show improvements in processes. There's 9 of them here. All of the interventions were well thought out. They were all so far effective in moving toward their goals. If you're a person who believes in quality and believes that there's a process that can work to improve quality, this was very heartwarming, and I think that we should have the utmost confidence in Dr. Craig Martin and Steve Kozicki moving forward in the fact that they know how to do quality assurance and they're keeping us where we need to be.
Thank you.
We have 4 surveys that we reviewed from consumers, from providers. The areas where we don't do well on surveys, those areas are provided to the Quality Assurance Committee to look at and see if they think any of those areas are worth taking on projects to improve. Overall, however, we did better than we did last year, and we also did better than state average on our feedback. There are two items that require full board approval. They are the compliance plan. The committee reviewed the compliance plan. There is very little change from previous. The committee has recommended then to the full board that we approve the compliance plan going forward. And I guess-
Well, we'll go ahead with this.
and I'll do that in the form of a motion.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? All in favor of approval of the annual compliance plan, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, passes unanimously.
And the second item that the full board needs to consider is the quality management annual plan. And that has undergone a lot of changes from a year ago. And the plan was reviewed, questions answered, and the committee recommends to the full board in the form of a motion that the quality management annual plan be approved.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed? All right,
Those are my 5 minutes, so I'll answer questions from anybody else.
thank you, Jay. All right, Consumer and Family Advisory Committee report, Pat McGinnis.
It's been a busy time. We recently participated in several engagement and advocacy efforts. Vaya CFAC members attended the state CFAC meeting in Raleigh on May 7th and heard regular business, including Deborah Farrington from DHHS. She spoke about member engagement and communication planning related to Medicaid transformation. We also attended the statewide CFAC Advocacy Day in Raleigh on May the 16th, and our activities included appointments with legislators to advocate on single stream funding, county alignment, and member and family concerns, as well as continued CFAC participation about Medicaid Medicaid transformation moves forward. Talking about Senator Hise, I called probably his office for a week and I didn't hear back from him. The night before we went to Raleigh, I called home to tell John good night, and his office had called the House the night before. We were supposed to be at the General Assembly the next day. So a member of his office, I called her and they did meet with me. I did not meet with him, but I did meet with a member of his office and was able to share some concerns. I also asked him, I was up for reappointment for the state CFAC, and I mentioned that I'm a senatorial appointee, and I got my letter last week. I've been reappointed to the state CFAC. So I don't know if his office had anything to do with that, but she did write it down that I was requesting to be reappointed. So maybe I'm developing a little bit of rapport with somebody in that office. I don't know if that's a good thing, but you know, it was kind of like last minute that they called me, and I also was fortunate to meet with staff in Josh Dobson's office, and also me and Verla had a pretty good conversation. So it was really amazing. 2 weeks in a row, basically, we had state CFAC members going back to Raleigh, basically, and you know, I think it's making a difference. I was real proud to look around the room and see so many of our local CFAC members at a state CFAC meeting, and some of them who even expressed interest maybe in joining the state CFAC at some point. So we also held our annual business meeting on May the 31st. We recognized Rick for his ongoing support of CFAC, and I'd like to thank him again. He's been super. Brian and Christina have also been super, and you know, they answered any member questions about Medicaid transformation. Clark reviewed our proposed budget and accepted CFAC member questions and feedback. Brian told us about the Care for North Carolina initiative. That got quite a bit of talk on the state to local CFAC call this past month too. And then Kate Glantz, she's a fairly new staff member at the division. Her and Stacy came from the division, and Kate gave an overview of the results from our various performance member surveys. And then we received an advocacy toolkit, gave us tips for meetings with our local and state policymakers, sample talking points, and contact information for state legislators from each of Vaya's counties. And actually, we got together in the lobby of the hotel the night before we went to the legislature and went over talking points with everybody again too. So we plan to participate, and they plan to participate in more upcoming state CFAT meetings. Some of them even plan to come, I believe, to the July one in addition to myself. And they're going to talk about, which, Brian, you've answered some questions for us tonight on that, what the new, or the catchment areas as this moves forward. And about county alignment during Medicaid transformation in July is on the agenda. And then, of course, local and state CFAC involvement we're expecting in October, and Vaya CFAC will hold local meetings in August. August 12th in Lenore, 13th in Silva, 19th in Asheville, and 20th in Boone. And of course, anytime any of you as board members want to come, we'd like to welcome you, or providers, or audience, or whatever. So thank you. We appreciate the ability to work in collaboration with all of you, and we appreciate your support of CFAC.
So what did that tell you about consumers and families?
No, we've just been busy. Just been busy.
Provider Advisory Council report, Jean, you want to add anything?
I think I gave I think the only thing else that we did, believe it or not, we actually got something else accomplished that day as well, is we did have Christine did a presentation about the new IBC. So we felt that was important enough to bring all the subcommittees together so everybody could hear that. So she did that at our last meeting.
Okay, other business questions?
There are two resolutions for the board's consideration tonight. The first is another sole source purchasing resolution. My contracts director is just very on the ball, and I made the mistake of sending him to the School of Government for training, and so now he makes me do these all the time. So make sure we're covered in the event of an audit. But this is, we need to purchase some Microsoft software that's only available from a sole source bidder. It exceeds the $90,000 bidding requirement. One of the exceptions is sole source, but that requires the resolution for approving that. Y'all have done this on 4 or 5 previous occasions for other contracts.
Is there a motion to approve as presented for the Microsoft license resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion, questions? All in favor?
Just for the record.
Okay.
I do too.
All in favor of the resolution, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
The second
Good for you.
resolution, we have mentioned this, I think this was probably 6 or 7 months ago, we mentioned this. As part of our consolidation of office space and having more staff work from home, we made the decision to close the Waynesville offices. One of the properties in Waynesville, which was known as the East Street Building, or the Broadview Building, had actually been gifted to Smoky Mountain Center some decades ago. We were able to find some very old correspondence from Jay about this, and Haywood County had gifted it to Smoky Mountain Center. After doing some research on the feasibility of ownership and all that kind of thing, we thought that the most prudent course of action was to contact Haywood County to find out if they wanted the property back before we put it on the market. And Haywood County indicated that they would like the property back, they could make use of it. We are also gifting them all of the furniture that was in the building, as we will no longer be needing it. And so Jerry Leger, who's on my team, has been working with one of the Haywood County attorneys, and you will see attached to the resolution approving this transfer, a special warranty deed, and a bill of sale. And so what we're asking is that the board approve a resolution approving the conveyance of real property and personal property to another unit of government pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 160A-274.
Questions? Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Could you please note that I did not participate?
Yes, please note that.
Thank you.
The last thing, I thought we would end on a high note. It's been a long evening. You guys have been very patient in approving all our annual documents. Thank you very much. Vaya's Office of Communications would like to formally recognize CFAC member, and I apologize if I mispronounce his name, Ray Hemachandra, for his outstanding contributions to this year's materials review work group. This work group meets annually to review Vaya's core member materials, including our brochure and our member handbook, for accuracy, readability, and cultural sensitivity. Ray put an extraordinary amount of time, effort, and thought into this project. He prepared a spreadsheet of recommended changes in advance of the meeting and brought a contagious enthusiasm to the group discussion. Ray's dedication, perspective, and attention to detail will help ensure Vaya communicates clearly, effectively, and compassionately to best meet member and caregiver needs. We want the board to know that Vaya does not just pay lip service to the recommendations of our CFAC. Following this year's meeting, the Office of Communications immediately set to work implementing the work group's recommended changes in our materials. We will continue to balance our contractual accreditation requirements with our goal of ensuring that Vaya member materials are health literate and meet the needs of our members. Very much thank you to the CFAC for helping make Vaya a better organization.
We're very fortunate to have him on my CFAC here. He's been a great asset, asking a lot of important questions, and just brings so much to the table. We're very fortunate to have him.
Any other business? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. Second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.